Hey there, it's Stephanie Shea, Chief Astrologer for janspiller.com with your July Astrological Overview. I've got some good news to report this month. We actually got through a lot of intense astrology in June, and as July progresses, we will feel things lighten up a bit. Things will start to be able to move faster. And after the middle of the month, we'll be clear of Mercury retrograde and have the opportunity to really maximize this month's new moon on the 20th and get some new things started. It's been slow going the past few months. Now, what we do have this month is a bonus eclipse. A lot of times when we have our eclipses, is just a pair, a solar and a lunar. However, 2020 is a bit unique. We have 6 total eclipses for the year, and a lot of years only have 4. So this tells us already, before the year started, that this was not a business as usual year. These eclipses are signaling change. They're signaling endings and beginnings, and the lunar eclipse show us what we need to know in order to make these changes. That's why they're a bit notorious for people getting upset, because when people see something that they haven't been able to see, or maybe that they haven't wanted to see, with this illuminating full moon energy, it can be upsetting. And this is really amplified when the full moon is combined with a lunar eclipse, the way that it was back on June 5th. And here we come into July. We have a July 5th, 13-degree Capricorn lunar eclipse. Now, this is a follow-up to the eclipses that occurred at the beginning of the year and the end of 2019. If you recall, we had a Christmas time solar eclipse back in 2019, followed by a lunar eclipse in early January on January 10th. Whatever was brewing back then can now reach phase 2. Perhaps there's a sense of completion on one level, and you get the information you need to see what comes next. That's one way that these eclipses can work on these 6 months cycles. It's a time where business may be highlighted because Capricorn rules business, finance. It could definitely shed some light on what's going on with the economy, what needs to happen. And the personal themes of this eclipse have to do with self-discipline, responsibility, and following through with commitments. And we should all remember, this isn't just commitments to others, but there's a big emphasis on following through with the commitments that we've made to ourselves. So it's a bit of a check-in time as the month begins. Now, on July 12th, on this day, Mercury will station direct. And this is great news because we have been dealing with interplanet retrogrades since back in May. If you recall, May 13th to June 24th was a Venus retrograde cycle. Then, before that cycle even ended last month, on June 18th, Mercury stationed retrograde. So the past few weeks, have just felt like probably 3 steps backwards and maybe half a step forward. But don't worry, it's going to get a little better. There's a window of time coming up between July 13th and September 8th, which is what I'm calling as good as it gets, because some of you may know enough astrology to know that these retrograde cycles include a shadow phase that cover sometimes a week or more on either side. But this year, there's so many retrogrades in effect that if we took the shadow phase into account, there would be no times where people could move forward. And so I personally feel when the planets are not actually direct, that we are just in a shadow, we can still move things forward more so than when they're in retrograde. So we have to work with what we have this year. And the good news is that by July the 20th, the new moon, we will have a bit more distance on that Mercury retrograde. And the new moon this month is in the sign of Cancer. This is going to be a great time to set some new intentions. Maybe it has to do with your home life or something to do with your family. These are Cancer themes. But Cancer also rules creativity. Cancer rules nurturing, our ability to take care of ourselves, and long-term planning and strategy. So there is a lot you can do at this new moon. And if there was super important intentions that you set at the lunar, or I should say the new moon eclipse that was in Cancer back in June on the solstice, I would encourage restating some of these same intentions at this July new moon, because it's going to help tell the universe you are solid in what you want. And now that we're out of the retrogrades at this new moon, you'll have a chance to reread your intentions, and it's probably not too surprising if you want to adjust them a little bit, because you'll have a lot more clarity about what you want. So the sun will move into Leo on July the 22nd. And this is also going to bring a light energy. Leo is one of the more playful astrological energies. It reminds us about what gives us joy and can reconnect us with our inner child. I hope you can take advantage of the sun in Leo to really let yourself have some fun. There's been a lot of difficult things to deal with this year, and we have to play and let our hearts have some joy and love in them so that we can sustain ourselves during these times. Now, the other thing that I think is going to help us move forward this month is the planet Mars being expressed in the sign of Aries all month long. Mars loves to be in Aries. People are probably going to feel extra motivated and fired up, and you can put this energy to productive use. Find a healthy outlet. It could be a good time to start working out if you haven't done it in a while. Mars will go retrograde in the fall. I will save that topic for later, but know that that is a more difficult time to get physical routines started. So you can use the second half of this month, Mars in Aries time, nothing's in retrograde. You probably get some success in establishing some physical routines for yourself. And the other good news is that Venus has stationed direct as of June 25th, and we actually do clear that shadow by July 28th. So there are some things to really look forward to that will help sustain our momentum. One thing to keep in mind for the entire month is that the outer planets of Jupiter and Pluto are going to be very close. They were in an exact conjunction last month, but they are within a few degrees of each other all month. This is going to continue these themes of Jupiter-Pluto, which include digging deep, magnifying what's been hidden. It really encourages us to get resourceful. Jupiter's in retrograde, which puts an emphasis on making our own luck. And pursuit of the truth is another big theme here. It's sort of how we proceed depends so much on us right now. It's a lot harder to rely on outside sources for assistance without us really giving some of our elbow grease under this astrology. So that can be helpful to know. You can definitely collaborate. You can definitely share resources and exchange ideas with others, but the impetus of making a change or getting something kind of has to come from deep within under this. So I hope you can use all this astrology to your advantage and look forward to this as good as it gets moving forward period starting after July 12th. And I will see you back here next month with your astrological overview.